Hi there, welcome to my studio. Thanks for checking out this video. If you're new here, my name is Siobhan. I teach figure drawing, and on this channel I share videos about a dynamic and expressive approach to drawing the figure. So each week I share tips and techniques and I share my own process. If you're interested at all in figure drawing, definitely subscribe here and stay in touch. In today's video, I want to show you 3 exercises for figure drawing that I think will help to improve your work dramatically, because each exercise is focused not on the figure, but on your own way of drawing. So these exercises aren't based on rules of proportion or anatomy. Instead, what they do is they focus in on developing how you draw. I think understanding and unlocking your own way of drawing is truly transformational, and for most beginners, it's the missing key. These exercises will help you to discover that key. Now, there are specific reasons for doing each of these exercises, and of course there are some nuances and some things to note about each one. And in this video, I'm going to demonstrate the techniques and explain how you can approach them in your own way. The demos that I'm doing are really just to give you an idea of what the technique looks like in application. It's not really prescriptive in any way. I would say make each of these exercises your own, and I can guarantee you that your own natural style of drawing will start to come through. So let's look at the first exercise, continuous line. For this one, I personally like to use a pen because it does create a very immediate single line, and it has more of a free-flowing quality. A ballpoint pen is best, but I didn't have one today, so I was using an inking or fine liner pen, which, to be honest, I don't recommend for this exercise. If you can, use a regular ballpoint pen or something like that. You can, of course, use a pencil as well. So there are many ways to approach this exercise. You can draw in a very gestural manner, the way that I'm doing, or you can try to stay a little bit more faithful to the forms and the features of the figure. But either way that you do it, just make sure that you keep your pen in contact with the page throughout the whole drawing session. What this means is that you'll not necessarily draw neat outlines or even correct or accurate shapes, because as you move from one section of the figure to the next, you're going to obviously be making a line across your drawing to get to that section. Because remember, you're not allowed to lift your pen off the page at all. Now, this can be very challenging for most people. I think we all naturally just want to draw the figure in sections so that the lines look neat and correct. However, there's a huge benefit to this exercise. It will help you to think of your line as a way to explore your subject, and that in itself can actually be very freeing. The way that I'm drawing here, I'm trailing my line across the drawing as I look at the reference. And then wherever I see an area that I want to emphasize or make more of a statement of intent, I'll circle back over that area and build up the line work there. Then I'll move around the forms again, exactly as my eyes move around the reference. So it's really like you're tracing your eye movements onto the page with your pen, marking everything that your eye sees. So throughout this exercise, you're not necessarily going to be drawing outlines of the body the whole time. You'll be moving your pen from one section to another by drawing through the body, and that's perfectly fine. Don't really worry about getting exact looking outlines. Think more of the internal structure, the skeleton or the muscle shapes that you might be following underneath the visible exterior. I also tend to use a circular or circling line because this helps to keep the pen moving, number one, but also it helps to describe the sort of volumetric form of the shapes that you see. And this teaches you to avoid simply drawing outlines like flat 2D outlines of the model, because this sort of continuous line can help you to understand the drawing in a more three-dimensional way. So in the next exercise, we'll look at the sense of volume a little bit more. Now this one is done best with charcoal, not pen. You can work with a pen or a pencil, but it'll just take that much longer because you want to build up tones. So what I did was I used willow charcoal. It's a lot lighter than compressed charcoal. And what you want to do in a drawing like this is to start out as light as you can and work lightly for as long as you can. So in other words, don't get too dark with your charcoal straight away. Now the idea of this exercise is to draw the model in such a way that you're only focusing on the kind of solid mass or the weight of the forms. And that's very important. The point is really to try and get the 3D solidity, not the 2D outlines. And so to do that, we're literally building up the tones in our drawing as though we were building up the forms in a sculptural manner. But I will say, even though we're working with tones, this drawing exercise is not really about shadows. You can, of course, start with shadows and follow those shadows to see where the forms are turning, but don't approach this exercise from the point of view of making shadows. Keep your focus and your intent on the weight and the solid mass of the figure. The analogy of sculpting something out of clay is really good. Even when you're sculpting something, you're not that interested in shadows necessarily. You're trying to get something 3D and solid. Shadows are ultimately only surface aspects of the form, and your interest here is on the solid mass that makes up the form. For me, this exercise is very challenging because I'm a line person. I love line work and describing things in line. But for here, in this practice, in every section of the drawing, I'm really thinking, how do I describe this area as a 3D shape? Even when it comes to seeing the individual muscles on the back, I'm starting to think, how do I describe the depth of each muscle or the shape that I see? Especially the area of the spine. There's a real depth through that area and across the forms on the back. So eventually you end up with a drawing that has no lines, it's just tone, and that can give a powerful sense of the weight and the solidity of the figure. This last exercise is probably the longest in terms of drawing times, and I'd suggest that you set aside a good 20 to 30 minutes for this drawing session. So a contour line is a line that follows the edge of the form. And unlike the continuous line, where you can let your line work go all over the place, in this exercise, try to keep your line exactly on the edge of the form that you're looking at. And another key component to this exercise is to make sure that you look at the reference or the model way more than you look at your drawing. And that's going to mean keeping your eyes locked onto your reference and moving your pencil and drawing while you're looking at the reference. I'm going to speed up this video for the sake of, YouTube attention span, and by that I mean my own attention span. But just remember that the main thing to note about this drawing, about the process of this exercise, is that you have to draw really slowly. A contour drawing is an extremely slow drawing. Go as slow as you possibly can. If you think to yourself, wow, this is great, I'm going really slow here, then just imagine me looking over your shoulder and saying, go slower. You're not drawing slow enough. If, on the other hand, you're not thinking at all and you're just completely in tune with looking, with observing your subject and following the drawing process, then you've nailed the assignment. That's because that's the exact state of mind that you want to get into, where there's no analysis, no judgment, no thinking, just pure observation. A contour line describes the edge of a form, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the outline of the form only. You can draw inner contours of shapes that you see within the figure, and you can also draw across the body using what's called cross contour lines. Cross contours will actually give you depth as well to your drawing because they indicate how the forms are moving forwards in space. The really great thing about all of these exercises is that they will each in their own way unlock your way of drawing. These are really exercises to develop your own mark making, and with that you can start to build up your own sort of visual vocabulary, your drawing language, and that's a very powerful thing to do. I would encourage you to do these exercises on a regular basis, and I think you'll see huge improvement in your figure drawing work. Let me know below in the comments if you try these exercises out. Let me know how you get on. I'd love to hear from you and hear what your experience is. If you've got any questions, just let me know. And if you want feedback and critiques on your own drawings, consider joining me over on Substack. There's a monthly tier where you can chat to me directly and send me your own drawings, and I can support you and give you feedback. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks for supporting this channel. Don't forget to give the video a like. It really helps me out. Subscribe here if you haven't already. And I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll look out for you in the next video.